back with more Avatar: The Last Airbender. This is episode 17 of season 2. I'm very excited to continue, as always. Last episode we kind of filled in a lot of the gaps with what had happened to Appa, what he'd been doing in the interim time while people were trying to find him, and how he left the footprint that Momo found, etc, etc. We kind of got all that filled in nicely, which gets me excited because now we kind of know all of that and what's gone on from Appa's side. It feels like we're going to be building towards a big reunion, hopefully, because there's still a lot of trouble going on in Ba Sing Se. So I'm very excited to see where the story will go next. We had 2 very different episodes, I guess, the last couple. We had the incredible one with all the different little stories and tales going on, and little 2 or 3 minute bursts of each character, really. And then last time, a lot of the focus was on Appa, which doesn't happen that often, and our main character didn't really say a word because they can't speak. So I've quite enjoyed them changing it up in that way to make the Ba Sing Se stuff not feel like, oh, we're still here, because they've done some very different stuff with it. So I think it's worked really well. But I am excited to see where the story goes next as we get closer and closer to the end of the season. It's definitely sneaking up on us, so I'm excited for that. But yes, let's just dive right into the next one.
Hey, I thought designing the Lost Appa poster was my job. I've been working all day on my Appa.
Why are feet coming out of it?
Those are his horns. I haven't seen him in a while.
Oh, he was trying.
Like them to me.
Thank you. I worked really. Why do you feel the need to do that?
I'll provide you with a new apartment in the upper ring. The tea shop is yours to do whatever you want. Complete creative freedom. Did you hear, nephew? This man wants to give us
Business is business.
tea shop in the upper ring of the city.
I'll try to contain his joy.
It's also more attention for them though, isn't it? Which may not be so great. Oh heck. Oh heck.
Oh, I simply took a short vacation to Lake Laogai, out in the country. It was quite relaxing.
We don't care about the rules and we're not asking permission. We're finding out on our own and you should just stay out of our way.
That might
Oh,
come
boy.
back to bite us in the blubber.
The Earth King has invited you to Lake Laogai.
I am honored to accept his invitation.
Okay.
Good. Let's see if we can still handle this quietly.
Cowards.
If you start stirring up trouble, we could lose all the good things that are happening for us.
Good things that are happening for you. Have you ever thought that I want more from life than a nice apartment and a job serving tea?
Oh
There's
boy.
nothing wrong with a life of peace and prosperity.
I think I can help you.
Uh-oh. Yeah, yeah.
I was a troubled person and I let my anger get out of control. But I don't even have the
There's a few people in the show like that.
behind me.
You're lying!
I can feel his breathing and heartbeat. When people lie, there's a physical reaction.
That's
He's
clever.
telling the truth.
They took that big thing yesterday. Shipped him out to some island. About time. I've been cleaning up fur and various, leavings all day.
What island? Where's Appa?
Sounds like a shit job. Yeah.
We don't need your help.
Why won't you trust me?
Hell hath no fury.
I want
You know?
He got arrested by the diarrhea a couple weeks ago. We saw them drag him away.
Oh yeah, you got
Why
all
would I be arrested?
hypnotized, didn't you?
I've been living peacefully in the city.
This doesn't make any sense. They're both telling the truth.
Whoa. The handy tool. Oh.
If you don't want to end up like him, you'll do what I say.
Try to think of something from your past that triggers your emotions. The Fire Nation. Remember what they did to your family.
Close your eyes. Picture.
Remember your trauma. That's a good thing.
They took me to a headquarters under the water. Like a lake. Wait, remember what Judy said? She said she went on vacation to Lake Laogai.
Yeah.
That's it! Lake Laogai.
Alright, so that's where that is. I'm building a map. I should probably just buy one. Look at them all working together.
It's all
Madness.
starting to come back to me.
I'm Judy. Welcome to Ba Sing Se.
Oh, that's horrible.
We're so lucky.
Oh. Oh boy.
You have made yourselves enemies of the state. Take them into
You've made yourself enemies of those folks. Feels like her blind bandit days.
Jet, the Earth King has invited you
Uh-oh.
to Lake Laogai.
I am honored to accept his invitation.
Well, this could have gone better.
Uncle?
So, the blue spirit. I wonder who could be behind that mask.
I have to get it out of here.
And then what? You never think these things through. This is exactly
He's very
what happened
impulsive.
when you capture the Avatar at the North Pole. You had him, and then you had nowhere to go.
I know my own destiny, Uncle.
Is it your own destiny, or is it a destiny someone else has tried to force on you?
Yeah.
Stop it, Uncle. I have
He's
to
right.
do this.
I'm begging you, Prince Zuko. It's time for you to look inward. What do you want?
Appa's just there like,
Look inside your heart.
Do your duty, Jet.
He can't make you do
I like
this.
how this is kind of Zuko's struggle as well.
Do it now.
I don't think so, bish. Oh. Oh, shit.
You've chosen your own demise.
At least he got to choose something.
I'm sorry, Aang. Don't worry, Katara. I'll be fine.
He's lying.
Oh, fuck. Oh, God, that could have got me a bit. Oh. Is Appa gonna come and save them? Fuck yeah! Yes! Eat him.
I can handle you by myself.
He skimmed him. Nice. Aww.
I miss you, buddy.
Oh, thank God for that. Aww.
You did the right thing, nephew.
Let him go, yeah.
Leave it behind.
Ooh, symbolism. I mean, I'm sad because that was a badass look, but... Okay, another very good episode again. I'm so glad we got the big reunion. We can all stop worrying now, or at least I can, because I'm sure a lot of you guys watching these have already seen it. But yeah, I love that Appa's back with the gang, and we can see what new adventures await them for the final 3 episodes of this season. Because when was he taken? It was like episode 10 or 11. It was around then, wasn't it? So it's been a good little chunk, really, that they've been separated. So I'm glad that that's been resolved and they've got him back. Because that was goddamn traumatic, really, for a lot of people involved. But I like how it all kind of came together, and it was a great way of organically giving us some flashbacks in terms of like a young Aang first meeting Appa, seeing a bit of that, giving Appa some time to shine, kind of just showcasing how every single member of the team is just so vital, I think, in it working properly and cohesively, and you know, the best it can be. You know, Appa's a huge main mode of transport for everyone. Obviously, that helps them get away from situations and helps them travel quicker than they would otherwise do. But more importantly, you know, it's part of Aang's history. It's part of his soul, I would say. You know, it's part of his heart. It's part of all of their hearts, really, at this point, I think. You know, how happy they all were to finally have him back. And even Momo and Appa have a really nice bond at this point. As we saw, you know, Momo was missing his buddy a few episodes back. So I like that it's like the fullness again, I guess, not just to the team but to my heart, because it was really sad just seeing them all be separated, and we had some emotional moments with that. So I'm glad that that's all been wrapped up and resolved, and Appa's got away from some pretty shitty people, I must say. That Long Fen can go F himself. I mean, they have, I guess, just escaped Ba Sing Se. I guess that's it. They're leaving. But Long Fen is still like there, and the Dai Li and everything. I don't know if they are going to go back and resolve that at some point, or if it's just some places maybe can't be saved from terrible situations that they're in. You know, there's obviously a lot going on there with manipulation behind the scenes and brainwashing, and you know, people just desperately trying to hold on to the power that they have, and manipulating and changing people to get at that. You know, what happens to everyone who's like, oh, I'm Judy now, that's my name. The number of people and the lives that they've taken away and ruined because of that. And even Jet, you know, they completely fucked that poor kid up even further than he already was. And maybe that's just going to be, there's nothing we can do about that, or at least not yet. So I am intrigued to see what's going to happen with that, and if that's just it, and it's like, well, that's dark, or if at some point maybe they will cross paths again and they'll find a way to free Ba Sing Se, or at least let people know the truth, or they can speak openly and there's no hypnotism and brainwashing going on. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, Long Fen, you suck, man. You know, only getting involved in the episode you needed to, just sat back and watched all the fighting, and then I can take you. Easily defeated by a giant bison. So how do you feel, pal? Very good to see it play out like that. And Appa hadn't really probably had the opportunity on some occasions to really get back at people who had, like, you know, oppressed him and were horrible to him. So I like that Appa was the one to be like, get into the sea, bitch, and I just yeeted him into there. So I'm excited at the potential of where that could go if we do revisit it. But, you know, they kind of got taught a lesson of sorts, and it might be powerful to just leave it at that, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. Because I'm sure right now they're probably all on their way to, what was his name? Patik, I think. The monk, I think it was. I imagine Appa's taking Aang to him, because that was kind of what they set up in the last episode. So I'm assuming that's where they're going right now. So I don't know if that's just the end of Ba Sing Se stuff, that they're parking it for now. Because we also had Iroh being like, oh, I might get a tea shop in, etc., etc. But maybe he'll even give that up so that Zuko can kind of explore a bit of his destiny, and maybe they're going to leave as well. Because, you know, this was a big episode for Zuko, potentially leaving a lot of his past behind and realising, like, everything I've been doing has been what someone else wanted me to do, maybe not what I wanted to do. Maybe I thought I wanted to do it to please that person, but, you know, that person kind of cut ties with me a long time ago. He can put energy into people who actually do want what's best for him, like Iroh, and himself. I'm sorry about that little journey as well. But I've liked the whole Ba Sing Se arc. I think it's been really interesting and heartbreaking at times. Like, I even got a bit emotional with the whole Jet thing there, which was, again, just so superbly set up with Toph, which in itself is just a clever idea. Like, she can tell if people are lying. She can, like, feel if their hearts are beating fast in their chest and stuff, which I love. I think that's a really clever idea of how she can tell. And then that came back when Jet's friends appeared, and they both seemed to be telling the truth from these completely different stories. And you're like, oh, that's cool how they paid that off. But then they properly pay it off at the end when she realises that Jet was lying about he's going to be okay. That's what makes it sad, that Jet just knows he's not going to be okay. I'm assuming we're not going to see any of those folks again. I'm assuming Jet did die, which is sad because, again, he's gone about things in horrible ways, as we saw in book 1. But, you know, he had genuinely, I think, changed his ways and changed that path he was on. And then he all got caught up in his hate for the Fire Nation all over again. And then that got him taken away and hypnotised. And that really came back then. And if he broke free of that because of the love that he had for his friends and stuff. But that then seemingly got him killed. I mean, that was quite the, you know, the strike he would have taken from that rock, I guess, and slamming on the floor like that, you know. Not great. If you can hear fireworks going off in the background, apologies for that. It's only the 2nd of November, it should be the 5th, so people are a bit early. So I thought I'd be safe recording, but apparently not. So apologies if you hear fireworks in the background. But yeah, everything with Jet is actually quite sad. I am glad that I think he redeemed himself in many ways. I did like seeing them all kind of reunite, and Katara instantly just did not trust him. Even more so, like, we don't want you to help us find Appa, even if you can. And he truly believed that he could, obviously, because of the whole trap that had been set up. But she had just been so scorned by him last season. Rightfully so, of course, because I think he was completely in the wrong. You can understand where he was coming from in terms of like the things that happened to him and everything, but he was still wrong to try and do what he did. So I like that he realised that, I think, and made those changes for himself, much as Zuko, I think, is going to do now. I liked how they paralleled Jet and Zuko's struggles in this episode. There was a lot of kind of similarities between them that I enjoyed, even though they never really interacted or anything. So I like it when they do that. I think it's interesting. The idea of like destiny and all of that. There was a big thing with like choice and free will, I think, in a lot of the Ba Sing Se arc, I would say. But this episode had that a lot with Zuko and Jet kind of being paralleled in that way. As we had what Iroh was saying to Zuko about, you know, your destiny, you can choose that for yourself, you know, don't do what someone else wanted for you, the destiny that someone else tried to force on you. You can find your own one now. This isn't what you want to do. And Zuko kind of realising that, probably because it came from Iroh, who's the one telling him that, because that's one of the only people in the world that I think genuinely cares about Zuko's happiness and well-being. I like that. And then we had that versus Jet and the hypnotism that had been done to him. You know, the brainwashing and the fact that he'd seemingly had his free will taken away when he was like trying to like fight and kill Aang and stuff. And Long Feng was like, I'm afraid he doesn't have a choice, or he has no free will, or whatever. But he did manage to snap out of it. Thinking of like some of the good times he had with his friends and with Katara and stuff. And I like that in the day that won over the pain and the hatred he had for the Fire Nation, which got him in all these situations and this mess and everything, and caused him to do some horrible things. The fact that in the end, hope and faith and love for his friends won out, and his final act was kind of in that vein. I love that kind of journey, and it also gives you kind of some hope for Zuko as well and where he may end up. It felt like two different journeys, I guess. Like one, you maybe find your destiny for yourself, or you know, you kind of snap out of the hatred surrounding your life. With Jet, it was like the Fire Nation, what they did and everything to his family. With Zuko, it's been, you know, his past with his mother and father and his sister being not the nicest person, and everything with the Avatar trying to hunt him down, losing that out. Iroh kind of calling him out, being like, he got away because, you know, this isn't what you want to do with your life. And I think it really hits home in terms of it being Iroh saying that, because Iroh knows what he wants with his life. You know, he's more than happy to that. Oh, this is, you know, absolute dream life, just settling down here with my nephew, running my own tea shop. Amazing. He's so kind of content with a destiny for himself and what he want to do. I think that he can really then sell that. You know, you could really, there's so, like, Iroh's such a content character so much of the time. Even when he's like fighting, he's kind of quite chill about it a lot of the time. So to hear him like really raise his voice and really kind of shout at Zuko in that way, you know, you could just see that passion that he had for Zuko's like safety and his health and his well-being, his destiny, which I really liked. That they're very selective in when Iroh gets like that, because it makes it all the more powerful when he does. So everything with that, I just found really interesting, that whole idea of linking those two characters, and the fact that Jet, I think, was going to be in a place where he could move past all of that, because he ended up focusing more so on his friends, and that kind of snapped him out of the thing. And I think that's cost him his life. But now Zuko was going through the same thing, maybe comes to a similar realization, like, I can make my own destiny for myself now. I can get past all that hatred in my life and just work out what I want to do. But for him, life goes on. He kind of is setting up a new path for himself, you know, letting go of the Blue Spirit mask. I'm sad that's probably the end of the Blue Spirit persona, but it was kind of, he felt like he had to be the Blue Spirit to escape, you know, being Prince Zuko, son of the Fire Lord. And he was always much more capable in that role. But now he can just be that without needing to hide behind a mask, which I think is really cool and a great kind of character moment for Zuko as well. And I'm like, yes, you do it, buddy. So I liked everything with that, and like it went similar realizations for them both in this episode, but one, it may have, it cost him his life ultimately, and the other, a whole new path for him. So, yin and yang, I guess. I don't know, life and death. So it's really sad how it ended for Jet. But I like that he at least has his friends with him, and they really showed how scorned and hurt Katara was by Jet in this episode. So the fact that his last little act was like, oh, don't worry, Katara, I'm going to be fine. And then that gut punch when Toph's like, he's lying. And she seems so sad about it as well. That hurt that he'd caused Katara in the past. The fact that, one of the last things I assume he'll ever do is make sure he doesn't cause her any more pain by being like, yeah, I'm going to die. You're going to watch me die now. You like saying, you can go, you don't need to see this, I'm going to be fine. He's just trying to sell that. I like that. That's just the showcase, I think, of how far he's come in himself and accepting the wrong that he did. And he found, I think, some sort of peace with that. And he would have been in a place to move forward from it, I think. But then he got properly injured. So that was really sad. I think there's a thing with Avatar. I feel like someone mentioned it in a comment before, maybe quite early on, that like they don't explicitly talk about, oh, that person has died, that person is dead. Like they actually show someone dying. Because even with like Yao, I think he just got like encased in some watery tentacly things, didn't he? And then just dragged away. You didn't really see him like, oh yeah, he's drowned. I think they can't like necessarily just show death, and I think that's just because of like target audiences and how it aired and stuff. Otherwise, I think they probably would have just shown like Jet properly dying, but I think it was very much implied that he is going to die, and that's really sad. But I like that they did revisit the character and gave him kind of that redemption, because I don't think they necessarily needed to, because they did a lot, I think, in his episode last season, showing the impact the Fire Nation can have, and turning, some innocent people into some darker paths and darker ideas, and the extremes that people will go to sometimes stop the Fire Nation. And it became less about him versus Team Avatar. He got then caught up in Zuko and Iroh being firebenders, and that hatred for them was reignited. That got him in trouble. That led into this, and it's just really sad that what Longfen and all of those guys did to him, and him finally breaking free of that got him killed. It's just very, very sad. But I did really enjoy the journey with that. I like that his friends didn't kind of come back and stay by his side for that, so he's not going to be alone, which I liked. And yeah, everything with Zuko we've kind of already talked about, but him being the one to, him realising that they must be in Ba Sing Se because he found the flyer. I thought that was really nicely set up to bring that story back into it, and they can explore the idea of his destiny, trying to track down Aang and everyone. And he gets to that point where he finds Appa. Would have been interesting to see what he would have done, or what he thought he would have done if Iroh hadn't turned up. But I like that Iroh just nonchalantly walked in like, oh, the blue spirit, who could that be? I like that he just kind of completely unbothered by that revelation. You probably had an inkling already, I think. But yeah, I liked Iroh directly confronting Zuko about that. Because he'd just been presented like, this is a life that we could have, and now there was a threat of that being completely destroyed because Zuko's still caught up in a destiny that's not even his. That's something that he wants for himself. He just thinks he does. So I like that he desperately tried to get through to him with that. And I imagine he still left the decision entirely on Zuko's shoulders in regards to Appa. And obviously he chose to just let him go, which I love, and that's a big moment. So many times he's kind of looked out for Appa flying in the sky as a sign like, oh, follow that bison, this is where my target's heading, we can go after him. So for him to then be the one to like let that go and actually want to watch it fly away and not feel the need to follow it, it's such a huge moment for Zuko. So I loved him kind of realising that he can forge his own path now. He doesn't want for himself what Fire Lord kind of forced on him, I guess, for most of his life. So he doesn't want to, go back home and get his honour and everything back. I really like that journey. I think it was very well done. Obviously him letting the blue spirit mask go and everything. Very cool. Loved everything with that. A big moment for him and how they paralleled that with Jet's story and his similar struggles in this one. Nice kind of exploration of like free will and destiny and the choices you make for yourself. And Iroh just calling him out for how impulsive he often is, and he's like, well, I'll do this, and he like, Zuko seems to like have a one-step plan. He's like, I'm going to do this, and he always forgets, like, okay, but now what though? Zuko, it would have been those moments like, aha, I've caught you, Avatar, and then it's just at the end of Finding Nemo when all the fish are in the sea, and like, well, now what? It just would have been that moment. And I liked what Iroh was saying, like, when you got the Avatar, he got away because this isn't what you wanted. This isn't your destiny. So I love that idea. Like deep down, Zuko knows this isn't what he wants, and we've already seen that. We've had a few moments of hesitation, I think, from Zuko's part in regards to when he's like being close to Aang and stuff. So the real Zuko has been bleeding through since very early on, and I like that. I think he's reached a point where he's like, well, I can be the real me now and not have to wear a mask to be that. So I do enjoy that, because we had a moment in Zuko Alone where he was kind of owning who he was in a way. This is who I am, son of the Fire Lord, blah blah blah. Now we can do that all over again, but he didn't have to give like a grandiose speech or anything, because I don't think that's necessarily him. So I really enjoyed that. I thought it was very interesting. And then we had obviously Team Avatar trying to hunt Appa down. I really liked the effort Sokka was trying to put into the posters. He's just not a very good drawer, but they got like some properly nice ones made. That was nice. Some really great kind of showcasing of powers from Toph, as always. She's a badass. And I just like that it felt very like she was fighting in an arena again, like the Blind Bandit when we first properly met her. Obviously we saw her in a vision in the swamp, but in that big episode for her. So that was really cool. Very much enjoyed everything she kind of brought to that fight as well. But yeah, just leaving Ba Sing Se kind of almost exactly the way they found it. There's some battles maybe they can't win, or they could come back one day. It is an interesting thing if that is just where they leave that story now. And they could easily do that. I wouldn't be mad if they did. I wouldn't be mad if they revisited it. Because I think either way it's quite fun. Because we found some kind of redemption in that story anyway. We did find like, okay, it feels like an arc has come to an end there, because we've got Appa back, and they ended Jet's story arc in a really lovely way as well. It was also where Zuko, I think, has found a place for himself. Are those two just going to stay in Ba Sing Se if you like properly giving up chasing the Avatar now? I'm assuming that's what it all means. So maybe they will try and make a life for themselves there. Or maybe they're like, if you need to find your own destiny, Zuko, we need to leave, and you just lead the way, I guess. And I feel like Iroh would sacrifice that, ideal tea shop for himself, if it meant Zuko could kind of be comfortable with who he is. So we'll see what happens with that. It could be an interesting thing. But either way, a fantastic episode. I really loved it. Fascinating stuff with Zuko and Jet and the parallels between their stories. Obviously very sad how it ended with Jet as well, but I liked the arc that they gave him. Love that we got the big reunion with Appa and they're all together again. My heart is whole and I can sleep at night again now. So yeah, loved everything with that. And yeah, just the little moments that I think were really, really effectively done. As often is the case with Avatar, let's not lie. But yeah, fantastic episode yet again. Looking forward to seeing what they're going to do with the last couple of episodes of this season. 3 left, which is very exciting. I don't know if it's a 2-part finale again. It might be. So it might just be like the next episode, then the finale 2-parter. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, very excited for that. Loving the show. As always, you may have noticed I'm a big fan of it. But yeah, really enjoyed this episode. Looking forward to more. And until my next reaction, thanks for watching.